Another word besides equity that I've heard several times this morning is enrichment. And enrichment, of course, comes in many, many forms. Some of them are through the school day, some of them are extracurricular. And one of those that I especially like is Odyssey of the Mind because it's focused on creativity. And if we're looking at the category of gifted students in our state that is least identified, it just might be the area of creativity. And Jimmy Cornn is with us. Jimmy is very active with Odyssey of the Mind. And welcome, Jimmy.
Hey, how are you doing today, Julia?
Doing well. I'm glad you're here. You're on.
All right. As she said, I have a very extensive background in the program Odyssey of the Mind, which I'm going to talk to you about today. To give you a little bit of background about myself, I am currently the Arts Academy Director for the Boyle County Schools, and I also run their Performing Arts Center there. Just stepped into that job a little over a month ago, and I feel like sometimes I am building the plane while I'm flying it, as I'm also shielding text right now from an event happening in the center while I'm here doing this currently. But we have a lot of really exciting things going on in Boyle County right now when it comes to the arts and our partnership through the Arts Academy with our gifted program. So hopefully I'll be able to share some stuff with you all about that later on in a couple of years as we have some data as we're like bringing this program up off the ground for kids. But going back to why I'm here is a program called Odyssey of the Mind, which let me share my screen. Everybody's a little bit all over the place. Sorry about that. So Odyssey of the Mind is an international creative problem solving program. It teaches 21st century skills. It's a perfect partner for STEAM standards, and it can service every GT student. So like she said, one of the most underserved, in my opinion, and least identified in the state tends to be creativity. I know even as a band director for 15 years, prior to me getting into administration, I think it was very often, especially at the high school level, we just assume they're getting services through their band director. We're assuming they might be getting services through other arts classes or whatever. We sometimes let that go by the wayside and just assume other programs are that the district offers are just automatically picking them up and doing this. But Odyssey of the Mind can service every student from math to leadership. It's all covered in this program. And I'm actually an alumni of it. I competed in high school and I've been judging in the program for over 20 years now. I run a region here in the state, the East Central region. I'm on the state board, and I also judge at World Finals for the past probably 15 years, I guess, that I've been judging there. So I really strongly believe in this program because of what it did for me and helps me get to where I am today. And I'm really excited whenever I can help expand the program and offer it to other kids in our state. Kentucky Odyssey of the Mind teaches kids to do three things, and that's what this presentation is going to be based on. Teaches kids to imagine, to create, and inspire. So moving my things around on the screen so I can see everything. Sorry about that. When it comes to imagine, Odyssey empowers students to imagine, just not recite data, and make new connections in powerful and creative ways. So this program is all about divergent thinking. It's not standardized testing. It's not, one solid answer. There are multiple answers for this. They want kids, we celebrate kids and how they think differently and go down the different path to solve the same problem. I think too often kids, especially our gifted kids, will get stuck in the quote unquote smart category, and how quickly can they answer something? How quickly can they, bring that knowledge up and arrive at one answer? And this is for those creative kids that can think of a million different ways to solve the problem. And we give them that space to do that in this program. So one way that I want to share this into the program with you is through our portion of the program called Spontaneous. Students are given a problem to solve on the spot. It might be verbal, it might be hands-on, or it might be something called verbal hands-on. These problems are designed to increase creative flexibility and increase general problem solving skills. For example, a verbal problem, kids might be sitting around a table and you ask them to think for 30 seconds to a minute and then give responses. It might be something like, name things that go up and down. So a more general answer might be an elevator. A more creative answer might be my mother's blood pressure and my friends are over for the weekend. So giving kids opportunities to go around and share those answers, and learn how each other thinks and celebrate that difference is really awesome. Hands-on, they might be given a bag of materials and asked to build a structure that supports a golf ball, and they get points for how high they can build it out of toothpicks and paper and straws, some very like cheap basic items. Or you might have something that's more verbal, hands-on. There's a lot of them that we do lately that have been written where the kids get pictures, these funny pictures, and they get to make memes out of them and share them with each other. So I'm going to show you some examples of these type of spontaneous problems. This was from a training that I did with, I believe it's mostly elementary and middle school kids in this. They had a wreath that you get at Hobby Lobby or at Joann's, and they were given a bag of materials each, and they had to add to the wreath and tell a story along the way. This one in the middle, it was about a queen or some sort of royalty. So each time they added to the crown to tell the story. You can see down in the bottom left down here, there's kind of a rainbow area that some kid was going through some portal with it. Some kids were creative and went around the outside of it and didn't always necessarily add to it, but they added to it from the outside perimeter. So kids just came up with different ways to create their story with this item. This is a really fun one that gets more into like some STEAM and science standards. They had to suspend raisins as high as they could off the table, and they were just given some straws and some paper and some toothpicks and paper clips. And you can see this team down here on the left, they actually decided to make a prism out of the paper and then make like a little hammock for the raisins, and then made like a gurney that sat on top of it, which I thought was a really creative thought process to get them up off the table. And then over here on the right, they basically made what I joked was a raisin taco, and they took the paper and used the paper clips to make it more secure and snug, and then secured the straws to the piece of paper and used some sticky labels to get it on the table to balance it and hang it off the table. So the kids had to work together and through trial and error figure this out within 5 minutes. This is like 5 to 7 minutes of work that they had time to like create and finish this. Same sort of idea here. The kids had to suspend items from between the two wooden blocks. So they kind of had to make bridges. And so they did that. Most of them did that with pencils because that was the sturdiest item. And then they used the other things like pipe cleaners and string and rubber bands from within the box, or even the cups. I thought this was a really cute idea where they stabbed the cup with the pencil and then put items down in the cup to hold it so it could suspend between the two blocks. But once again, they're given somewhere between like 5 to 7 minutes to come up with these creations. So the next step that I talk about a lot with Odyssey of the Mind is the create aspect, which is the main heart of the program. Odyssey provides a platform for students to not just speak their ideas, but actually create and bring them to life. I think as a creative individual in school, I was asked to imagine and think about things a lot, but I never really got to make or create what was in my head. I got to talk about possibility, but I never got the opportunity to try to make that possibility a reality until I got into this program. Each year, Odyssey publishes 6 different problems. Each one has a different creative emphasis. So problem 1 tends to be vehicle related. Students have to create a vehicle to perform certain designated tasks. So that's for some very hands-on type thinkers. Problem 2 is technical. Students have to create a device. So these kids get into more of your STEAM standards with this. Some of it even gets into like programming that has to complete certain tasks, this device that they create. Problem 3 is my home. It's classical. Students are challenged to create their own twist on classical works of art and literature. It might be a problem focused on Greek gods and like taking a twist on those stories, or it might be Leonardo da Vinci and taking his works of art and putting creative twists on them. We always do something more quote unquote classical in that problem. You can look over here to the left to see some solutions kids have done before. This bottom one is actually a vehicle, and you can't see it very good on the bottom. A team from Murray Elementary in Kentucky did this one. There are rolling pins on the bottom down here to create this vehicle, and these are laundry baskets on top. And I think this was actually towed by another vehicle, and it like transferred items in the skit. Problem 4 is always structure related. Students have to design and create a structure that supports as much weight as possible. They're usually little 8-inch structures, and they have to weigh a certain amount, made out of only balsa wood and glue. And then they end up getting weight stacked on them. That's the picture that you see over here. Kind of cuts off the structure a little bit, but a lot of these structures will hold anywhere from 10, 20, 100 pounds to teams at World Finals. They're holding 900 to 1,500 pounds of weight on these little wooden structures. So it's a really awesome thing to watch. Problem 5 is performance. Students are challenged to give a humorous performance about a certain situation. This is what I call sketch comedy. It's very Saturday Night Live. The students have to create that scenario and then present it in a humorous way. Problem 6 is primary, and it tends to introduce kids to the creative problem solving process. It's non-competitive. We try to get kids at the primary level, grades K through 2 is the way we categorize that, to just, solve the problem. They present at our competitions. We celebrate them. We give them awesome feedback. They get ribbons, and that kind of prepares them into Division I competition level. Teams solve these problems in groups of usually 5 to 7, no more than 7. And these problems are currently published now. So some teams start right around Labor Day. Some teams wait and start in October, November. We even have some very seasoned coaches and teams that don't start until January, and they create their solutions. These solutions are created in an 8-minute skit. So they get as much time as you want to work on this. Some places do this through their gifted pullout program. Some of them do this as an after-school activity. That's what's so awesome about this program, is the flexibility of it and how you want to run it within your school system. But kids get together and they practice and they create this 8-minute solution, and then they come to the tournament and present it. Our tournaments are usually at the end of February and end of March. So just to give you a little view of what this year's problems are, to give you a better idea of what the synopsis are, these are clearly not the entire problem. Once you pay for the membership, you end up getting the extended problem that gives you all the details and breakdowns. But I think we have some really interesting problems this year. Problem 1, which is the one about a vehicle, is titled Pirates and the Treasure. In this problem, groups of pirates sail their ship to reclaim stolen treasure and return it to the queen. The pirates will battle an original sea monster that guards the treasure. These performances will also include a pirate captain flag and song. I think this one will be extremely popular this year, as everybody gets to make these movable ships that roll on like equivalent of like a gym floor, and then get to do this whole pirate theme thing. I think it's really going to excite kids this year. Problem 2, because some contraptions and devices seem to make tasks much more complicated. And in this problem, that's a good thing. Teams will create a device that will perform tasks, including raising a flag and ringing a bell, simply because they can. Once the device starts, it will complete the series of tasks without team assistance. The setting will be a team-created laboratory, and the performance will include an inventor character and a costume that changes its appearance. So once again, this gets a little bit more technical in nature. Problem 3, the place that I reside, is based upon the walls of Troy. Omers know there is more than one way to get past any type of barrier, and in this problem, they will prove it. Ancient Greek poet Homer created the Iliad, which tells the story of Achilles and the Trojan War. Now, OM teams will put their spin on the popular concept of Trojan horse by creating one of their own. It will be used to get past a wall in a performance that also includes a character from the Iliad, an original Greek chorus, and an unusual statue. And I've seen the entire ride out of this problem, but I think the really awesome possibilities that this one presents with kids is they're not literally making another Trojan horse and literally going over a wall. The wall can be any obstacle they choose. The horse can be anything that's hiding a solution inside of it. So I think there's a lot of creativity that can happen with this problem, and they still get to research and learn about these Greek stories. Problem 4 is the structure problem. In this problem, teams will have audiences wondering, where's the structure? Teams will design and build a structure made of only balsa wood and glue that balances and holds as much weight as possible. It will have 3 parts, and each part will be hidden in plain sight. During the performance, the team will reveal each part and assemble them into a final structure for testing. The performance will also include a poem about searching for something special. Problem 5 is that comedy sketch problem that I was talking about. OMG, can you believe that happened? Teams will create a humorous performance about a dramatic character that overreacts to common events. The performance will showcase different theatrical styles as the character overreacts. However, in one situation, their reaction is justified, but they are ignored. I know a few people like that. The performance will also include something that grows in a costume that represents 2 characters, and this problem is sponsored by our main corporate sponsor, Arm & Hammer. And the primary problem, which is really cute this year, is Dinos on Parade. What better way to celebrate a new discovery than with a parade? Teams will create a performance all about dinosaurs. There will be a paleontologist character that discovers a new dinosaur that is invented by the team, an artistic representation of an already discovered dinosaur, and another portrayed by a team member in costume. These will all be presented in a fun parade. I think that'll be super cute to see little K through kids like all dress up as dinosaurs and have all those little dinosaur moments. I'm excited to see that this year. There's a video link here, and I'm going to make sure that Tyler can share that with you all later, but it's a little bit of a hype video that takes about 6 minutes to watch. So I'm not going to do that right now, but it just lets you see a little bit more about what these problems are designed to make kids think. Also in this program, one of the main components of it that I think is really awesome that's different from other ones is we have no outside assistance. That means all solutions are 100% student created. As a coach, you cannot give answers, but you can teach skills. So I can't look at kids making something and say, no, don't do that. Give me the drill. I'll show you how. No, I can show them how to use power tools and how to use them, but they have to create everything on their own. Or if the kids are making a work of art and they've got the technique wrong, I can't come over there and paint on it for them and touch it up. I can take the time on some extra canvas or on some extra paper or something and show them and teach them how to use the tools and the paint and how to shade, but then they have to create everything on their own. So if kids are getting stuck with finding a solution and they can't think through something, you're allowed to guide them through leading questions, but you can't give them the answer directly. They need to think of that themselves. That's a huge component of Odyssey of the Mind. The whole you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. You've got to let the kids think on their own. We want to teach the kids how to think, not give them answers. And besides, the whole program is based upon there is no one correct answer. So we really want kids to have that opportunity to make mistakes and learn from it. Which is the next thing I'm getting ready to talk about in a moment. But it helps students develop a sense of pride and confidence in their skills and abilities because they created that product. They created that solution. That is all theirs. They get to talk about it. They get to own it. They get to be proud of it. It's not Mr. Cornn doing it and making it, and they're just going through the motions. That's something that they did and they made and they can be proud of. And that doesn't always happen in a lot of programs. You know, the coaches and teachers are allowed to do a lot, and sometimes I don't feel that student talents are best showcased that way. Here are just some really cool things I want to show you that kids have done in Odyssey of the Mind. Now, these are from World Finals, so these are some of your top-notch teams from across the world. This first picture up here on the left is a picture of bulls made out of, these were puppets that they used in the performance in the classics problem. They're made out of like cane reeds, and a high school team made these, which I thought were really awesome. Down here in the center, this was one of my teams from Corbin whenever I was there. They made this large Leonardo da Vinci head out of PVC pipe that they actually heated and melded. And the skin on top of the face there is an old pool liner that a mom was getting rid of, like the ones that like look like bubble wrap that heat your pool. They took that and covered it and melded it to the face and then painted it to create that. This little scuba guy right here in the front, He's actually made a fire hose. A volunteer fire department was getting rid of some fire hoses in Corbin, and the team took them and they cut them up the middle so they flattened out, and they were able to make an entire costume out of that material, which I thought was really inventive. Over here on the side, there's me in a crocodile outfit. This was a Division IV team out of North Carolina. They actually had a person on there that was studying to be a vet, and another person that was doing like theater tech. And so they combined their skills together. And these are all layers of cardboard to make the head of the crocodile. And the vet was very specific with his animal knowledge about how they made all these different animals that they had in the presentation. But it's on this like little pallet down here, and it had multi-directional wheels for the back of it. So it was in two pieces, the body and head up here in the front where you put your arms through, and my arms were the front of the crocodile when I got in it. And your feet were laid in the back half of it where the tail was, and it was on multi-directional casters. So when you went forward on your hands, pulling yourself forward across the stage, you couldn't always control the back end very well. And so it moved just like a crocodile. It was really, really awesome, which is why I got in it and played around in it after the performance whenever we come up to talk to the kids. This is some artwork. The one on the left was done by middle schoolers from Poland, a team of 7th and 8th graders. That's made out of dryer lint, and that's actually a puppet that talked. In fact, I think their entire set was made out of K-cups that they got from a local coffee shop. One thing that I haven't mentioned about the program yet is this program, they all have to do everything on a budget. Every problem has a cost limit of like 125 to like 150 bucks. And the kids have to keep track of things and write that down and turn in a cost sheet. So it really levels the playing field. So the haves versus the have-nots are operating on the same amount. So it really encourages creative use of materials and creative ways to reuse items. Over on the right, this is a Mona Lisa made out of chewing gum that one of my teams from Corbin made. They took many, many days of chewing gum, and to get black chewing gum, they actually put charcoal in it to chew it. And then they had a kid that was actually a GSA art student that taught a couple of them how to arrange the gum on there. And that is probably 3 feet tall. It is a very large portrait, and I still have her in my basement here. I wouldn't let them throw that away. Like I said earlier, the one thing that I think is really awesome about the program is that we normalize failure. And I think that too often in schools, kids become very afraid of failure and they don't know how to overcome that. And there's so much pressure on getting the right answer that kids don't know what to do if they stumble. And in this program, you're going to fail a lot. You're going to try to make things and they don't work. You're going to realize that ideas can't happen when you start realizing what was in your head. Talking earlier about you get to imagine things, but how often do you actually get to create and test those ideas? And so making failure a learning moment, giving them a chance to try again and discuss what went wrong and how to improve the solution. I know that my kids grew a lot just when I started letting that happen within the classroom. Even when we take a test, like giving them the opportunity to talk through the test, to see what they did wrong, to do some corrections to it, and be able to enhance the learning process. This does this naturally through the creative problem solving process. But I truly believe that people learn more from their failures than from their successes because it sticks with you more. And I just think that's a really awesome component of the program. Finally, this program inspires. You provide the spark as the teacher or the coach, but your students ignite the blaze. Students learn from each other and inspire one another to succeed. You know, you begin to create that environment where ideas are accepted and kids feel open to explore, and they begin to encourage each other, and they see that everybody has different talents or skills. And, you know, if you're in math class, you know, just the kid making an A is celebrated. If you're in Odyssey, the kid that's able to build the structure is celebrated. The one that's able to paint the portrait is celebrated. The one that's able to do the writing and do the humor is celebrated. So they begin to realize that they have special gifts themselves, and they learn how to use those in harmony with others to create awesome products and solutions. Like I said, learning is communal. I should have just went ahead and hit the arrow whenever I was talking about that. But this program provides space beyond the regular classroom to develop those talents and skills. I really believe that as much as teachers want to do that, we always just don't have time to do that. And so this really this program really gives kids the opportunity to do that. They become more confident as they gain control of their abilities, and they really begin to shine and figure out what they're going to do after high school and where those abilities and talents can lead them. I would encourage all of you all to, of course, join the program. But if you ever want to see the program in action, we have something called a shadow program that we have at our state tournament. We have a date for the state tournament right now. We are still ironing out details of the location. There's a good chance it might be at my school in Boyle County, as we have a great facility, but I'm still working on all that and getting the program started with us. But if you're interested in that, I would love to have you. You come into the tournament and you kind of get to see it behind the scenes. We take you around and show you each problem. You get to talk with coaches, you get to talk with kids. And so it gives you a better understanding of it. I think sometimes it's really hard to explain this program without just dropping you in the deep end of the pool. And this is dropping you in the deep end with floaties and a tour guide. So if this is something that interests you, when I give you the survey link in a minute, just click it and I'll get you some more information as that date approaches. I have an info sheet that I'll put in the chat in a moment. So here's some more info about us. Our webpage is kyudom.com. The Facebook page is Kentucky Odyssey the Mind. We're also on Instagram and Twitter. It has been a rough 2 years, and you all know that, and I'm preaching to the choir. So we are just now getting back on our feet, really trying to come back onto social media and start doing some more blitzes and stuff. So the page might look like it's not had a lot of action in the last year, and that's just because, like everything else, we've been a little slow getting back up and going, and we're really hoping this year we get back to pre-pandemic levels. My personal email is jimmy.cornn@boyle. And my Odyssey address that is specific to just Odyssey the Mind is East Central RD, stands for Regional Director, at kyudom.com. So let me grab a link for you all real quick and put it in the chat, and then I can take some time to answer any questions or comments. Let me do this. Stop sharing. Okay. If you all don't care, just fill out the link that I just put in the chat. Even if you don't want any information about the program, I just like to know who I've presented to and be able to keep track of that if the districts have heard about it. I just like to keep up with things that way. If you say you don't want any more information, you will not be bombarded by an email with me. If you would like more information, I will happily contact you and put you in contact with the right people in your area. We're always looking to grow. And like I said, getting back to pre-pandemic levels whenever we had 100+ teams in the state. That's kind of where we're trying to get back to this year.
Jimmy, there's a question here about whether there are regional competitions. Can you talk about the different levels of competition with OM?
Yes. So in a perfect world, I'll put it that way, there are 3 regions in Kentucky. There's the Western region, the East Central region, and the Northern region. And those tournaments happen at the end of February. And if you are in the top 3 for your problem and division, so all middle school teams that are competing in problem 3 compete against each other. You don't just put all middle school teams together solving different problems. You're clustered by your team, and you're clustered by Division 1, which is elementary school, like mostly grades 3 through 5. Middle school is 6 through 8, and high school is 9 through 12. And you compete with those similar age groups, and the top 3 advance to state, which is held at the end of March. And then if you place in the top 2 at state, you advance to World Finals, which this year is held at Michigan State University in East Lansing. So that's kind of the rundown. I say in a perfect world because last year our membership was down, after COVID. This time last year, we all still didn't know what was going on, and we had a lot of teams and and schools still leery of doing after school activities. And so last year we had just one state tournament at the end of March to service our teams, because we felt like that was the best use of time and resources. But in a perfect world, yes, there are regional competitions. The registration fee for the year. All right, so this year, for the first time in 25 years, the cost of the program has gone up, and that's from the national level, not from the state level. In Odyssey the Mind, you would, if you choose to compete, you would have two different fees you pay. Number one, there is a $290 fee that you pay to national headquarters. That gets you your membership. So I'm going to use Boyle County Middle School as an example for right now. Boyle County membership pays $290 for that membership, and you get all the problems, and we're allowed to field up to 5 teams, one in each problem. All right, so we'll get all the materials for all the problems. We can look over those, and we can choose one problem to solve, or if I have 35, 40 kids involved, I can end up doing all 5 problems. But we get that opportunity to choose that once we get those items for that $290. Then if you register for a tournament, each team is $100 for the registration fee. And that's a one-time fee in Kentucky. Like, it doesn't matter if you advance to state, you don't have to pay another fee. You just pay it at the regional level. We do have a coupon code this year that if you decide to join and you really want to join, I ask that you message me first. There is a $50 off coupon and a code that you can put in whenever you check out to save $50 this year, because this is the first time the prices had to go up. So they have offered that to everyone. So I think that was really awesome of them that they did do that. So to wrap that up, it's $290 to join the program and get all the materials. And then if you decide to register a team for a tournament, it's $100 per team.
Kathy, I think that you had a comment you wanted to make. Are you there?
Yes. So I just wanted to say I was a coach for 2 teams, and this is a really great program in order to encourage, like Jimmy was saying, all children to participate, not just your gifted children. I mean, it is a great opportunity for your creativity, leadership. I mean, all of your GT students, but it really encourages that creativity, thinking, working with others, which is a really 21st century skill. And just want to plug this organization. It is a great way for your kids to get involved in thinking creatively. And like I said, working with others.
Well, and I even want to comment a little bit, piggyback off that, Kathy. I was watching Julie a minute ago present as I came in, and she was talking about all the growth they had in Fayette County within different subgroupings and domains. And some of the biggest success stories that I know in Odyssey of the Mind are kids that had IEPs for some reason, or 504s, had speech impediments that overcame a lot of things and came into this program. We had a kid that like really struggled and needed some help in reading and math, but was a really great artist and was able to develop those skills within the program, and found that he had a place, that he didn't feel like he had a home within the classroom. So I always present at these gifted things because this is great for gifted kids and easy to check off boxes, but it is really for the entire population. Any kid can be creative.
It is. And, we have some really diverse needs across our student populations. And it's a great opportunity for those kids to shine, to learn how to get up in front of other people. I mean, there's opportunities for them to either do drama types events or to build things, out of balsa wood. I saw some amazing structures that children had built where they would put different weights on it until it broke. And it's just an awesome opportunity for kids and for parents and for staff to get involved in.
And we've had, like I said earlier, we've had lots of success different ways. Garrett County for several years here recently ran it through her gifted pullout program. And then it was originally ran through the gifted program at Fort Thomas. And then there are several places that just run it as an extracurricular, and a teacher does it after school. And it's not necessarily attached to the gifted program, but does help service and check some boxes for those kids. But it's very, very flexible and can fit any need if you just think through it. And I'm willing to do that with anybody and help you figure out how to make it fit within your time frame and your needs.
Yeah. True. I did it, you know, as a pullout and as an after school extracurricular activity with my kids. I had teams at 2 different schools where I was the GT resource teacher. And we opened it up to all kids with my after school program. And, you know, it really helped to open up my mind to help me be more creative. And I really like the fact that, like you were saying, it's kind of a hands off in a way approach for children where you encourage them to think because you are, as a coach or whatever, are not allowed to say what you think the answer to the problem should be. You know, it helps you to be more creative and helping your kids think critically.
And if there's anything, like there's so many times that I've learned my lesson to not underestimate kids. You know, there are times that I'm sitting there watching them and I'm trying to solve the problem myself, or like what they're struggling with, to be able to lead them down the path and ask them questions. And then they come up with something completely off the wall. That's a much better idea. And I'm like, well, I didn't need to sit here and think about it. Just let them do it, you know, which is the point anyway. But I mean, never underestimate kids and what they can come up with when they're given the space to do that.
Right. And it helps them understand it's all right to fail, you know, which I think is a really important lesson to learn these days. You know, I had some kids, they decided to put some jump ropes on some sort of like a 4-wheel device that they built. And they didn't work too well. It wasn't very safe. And they came to that conclusion themselves, which was really great.
Well, Jimmy, I thank you immensely for joining us. I've been an Odyssey of the Mind fan for many years. I had a daughter who was involved with it. She loved it. And I thank you. If you look at the top skills that the Global Economic Council says that we'll all need 5 years from now, there's nothing about memorizing. There is nothing that would be old school. It's complex problem solving, creative thinking. It's right down the alley of what OM is focusing on. And I love it.
Thank you so much for this time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.